This is No Face Bigfoot, and welcome to my 2024 Field Steele College Football preview video. And as you can see here, this just came in the mail 2 days ago and it actually arrived early this year. And so let's go ahead and take a look inside of what's in here. And last year was a crazy year for college football because we saw Alabama almost lose to Southern Florida on the road and barely winning 17-3. And one of the most historically worst football programs destroy Auburn. And then Alabama barely beating that Auburn team that lost to that New Mexico State team. What an incredible year last year. And then Michigan taking out Washington in the title game. So that was insane. And then Kalen DeBoer is now at Alabama from Washington. Isn't that crazy? So anyway, let's go ahead and look at this. And this is basically the Bible of college football previews. It has everything in it. Well, almost everything. So starts off talking about 365 days a year. Talks about his family, how he works a lot. And it is. You read about how much stuff is in here. It's like, how does one person do all this? But it's not. It takes several people. And, of course, there's a table of contents so you can easily find your team. So the teams in my state would be Liberty, Old Dominion, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. And not much selection there, but there is here. James Madison, who have gone from FCS and being FCS champions in a powerhouse to being a powerhouse of the Group of 5 teams, so of the Group of 5 schools. And always starts out with the NCAA experience chart and the chart per teams. If you look here, Oklahoma State of the Big 12, the new look Big 12, has the most experienced points. And they going down all the way to some of the lowest teams. And as you can tell here, Washington is pretty low. So it's ranked 132nd. And you go over here in MAC, and I believe Ohio would be ranked the lowest, because I think there's only 134 teams this year. I mean, there are 134 teams. And then he goes on to show you why it's the most accurate magazine over the last 29 years. Although some years it's not, of course. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to see what's in here. Very highly touted NFL players. Preview top selections. Actually, I think that's from this year where they already had the draft. And this is the draft guide right here. So I'm not going to talk too much about this because I've not read about this yet. But here he does talk about his top eligible players for the 2025 NFL draft. So, all right, here we go. And then draft day party hangover. Most points lost in NFL draft. So Washington is the team that seems to have lost the most the players to the NFL draft. So, including Michigan, Alabama, Texas, and Georgia, Florida State. Basically all the top teams in college football last year. Okay. And then this talks about the top draft eligible players for next year. So we rank them by position, which is great. Okay. And then we have more here, where we start at outside linebackers and kick returners and everything else. There we go. All right. I won't talk about who follows Phil Steele because I really don't care. This is big right here because this is his preseason All-America team. So as you can tell right here, this gives everything: offensive, defensive, and special teams. All right. And then we go for the top individual units. So, of course, it always starts out with the QB, the quarterback. And this year it's Texas. Texas, Georgia, Oregon, Alabama, and Ole Miss And then 2 Virginia schools, the Hokies and the Flames are on there. So that's pretty big because Liberty's done pretty good going up to FBS. So you have 2 schools here in the state of Virginia that actually have been more successful than the 2 ACC schools. Of course, we have the running backs, Ohio State. Nothing surprising there, but surprising here, Liberty is ranked 4th for running backs. So, again, that's another big thing here. Of course, why am I talking about them? It's a Virginia team. I'm from Virginia, well, of course. Receivers. So, all right, and then again, of course, we go with the O-line, which, opens up holes and saves the quarterback, make sure the quarterback doesn't get killed. And again, Georgia, Ohio State with the defensive line. Linebackers. No surprise there, Iowa's the top because of course, they know how to stop you from scoring, but they don't know how to score. And in fact, their offensive coordinator was fired because of it. And again, top units, individual units, defensive backs, Ohio State, no surprise there. Alabama, special teams, pretty good right here. So again, and then there we go, Iowa, Eastern Michigan, and Cincinnati. So a MAC school being in the top 15 is pretty wild. All right, then we got stock market indicator, teams that are going to go up and down. So right here for this year, looks like Cincinnati, Pittsburgh should be the most improved teams. Then we got Sam Houston here, who just moved up to FCS, possibly San Diego State and Houston. And then the bear market teams that have probably dropped the most, Arizona, Washington, not only because they lost their coach, but they lost a lot of good players. UNLV, which had a really good year last year, Kansas, Florida State, which is not surprising. What is surprising is how bad they got beat by Georgia last year. All right, and then we have rankings here of close wins and close losses. Teams that go up or down based on how many close games they won or lost. So, all right, and then what was this? Yards per point. I was reading up a little bit on this and how he does this. So you have to get a copy of the magazine to figure this one out. And you can download it as a PDF files as well. So that's what's cool. Toughest schedules. Again, there we go. Virginia, toughest schedule. It seems like they're near the top 10 most years. And for some reason, they always, until recently, they have always picked these tough schedules for non-con. I don't know why, because they're 3-9 the last few years. I would think I would pick teams that I could destroy, for the non-conference, and maybe pick one good non-conference, which usually it would be Notre Dame anyway. But yeah, these are the top schedules: Michigan State, Arizona State, Iowa State. Okay, now he based it also on winning percentage right here, which starts at Florida and goes on down. Is that a surprise? No, because it's SEC. They do play a tough schedule. A lot of good teams at the top here. And of course, the teams are not as good, which here it says Florida Atlantic is the worst one. Of course, they did not have the worst schedule. Over here is actually Kennesaw State and Liberty. If you know anything about Liberty, of course, they made a New Year's Six bowl game because they're undefeated. And they didn't really play any good teams last year outside of non-con. During the COVID year, they were 3-1 against the 2-1 and 3-1 against the ACC. So, which is insane. So yeah, there's some very tough schedules out there. Of course, a lot of SEC, Big 10, and Big 12 teams there. Okay. And these are the most overrated schedules and underrated schedules. So Georgia Southern, most overrated schedule. And Texas Tech with the most underrated. All right, here we go. And these are the toughest schedules for 2024. Florida, UCLA, USC. And that doesn't surprise me because they jumped up to the Big Ten now, which is more like the Big 27, really like the Big 18. Georgia Tech, of course, they play Georgia every year. Houston, Purdue, West Virginia. I think Houston has a few tough non-conference games. There we go again, my home state, Virginia. They just can't seem to figure out a schedule that's conducive to their ability level. And in Liberty again, James Madison, the worst schedules, both from the state of Virginia. Isn't that crazy? And the teams that should be going up this year, chance of having a better record than last year, East Carolina, Indiana. There's a surprise one there, UConn. They have been historically bad since they left the Big East. Going down, UCLA, West Virginia, SMU, who had a really good year last year. No surprise because they're going to the ACC. All right, here we go. And all conference point teams, how good they are based on their rankings in the all conference. Hey, look at that. We got the Pac-2. So, SEC is Kentucky. Oh, wow. That's insane. That is insane. Above all the other teams. Oh, wow. That's insane. Okay, turnovers. Which team had the most turnovers or the best turnover margin? So that's how many turnovers you have minus how many you cause. So last year, of course, Temple was the worst team. Maybe I said that formula wrong. They coughed up the ball 20 more times than they caused turnovers. That's crazy. So they expect them to go up this year. Michigan caused the most turnovers based on how many they actually had. So that's crazy. That's no surprise Navy causing more turnovers because they're a ball control team. All right. Toughest conference. Yeah, usually I would say SEC, Big Ten. Last year I thought it was the Pac-12. But then again, the top part of the conference was really good, and then there was a bottom half that was kind of not good. So last year's standings, SEC, Pac-12, Big Ten, Big 12, ACC. And then Sun Belt as the top group of 5 conference, which actually that's probably one of the best conferences of FBS. Very competitive. They seem to get the best of the rest, the teams that SEC don't get. And then they'll get a lot of players, like maybe 2- and 3-star players that would go to an SEC student, be a backup, but instead be a starter. So, and then this year the top group of 5 school would be Mountain West. Now, there's only 4 power conferences now that the Pac-12 is gone. SEC, Big Ten, ACC, Big 12. The Pac-2 is considered part of the Mountain West. Of course, Independent is the bottom now because Army and another school are now part of the. They went to Conference USA. Of course, BYU is Big 12. Power rankings. This is just one set right here. Georgia's top of the SEC. Doesn't mean that they'll be the best team. Ohio State doesn't surprise me. ACC, Kent State in the Big 12. And notice here, Florida State. They think they want to go to the SEC. If they were to go to the SEC, they would rank right there in the middle. Clemson, same thing. I'm sorry, Florida State and Clemson, but I don't think you would succeed in the SEC. You get a lot more money, but you will not be more competitive. You would just be a middle-of-the-road team. Better to be a very big fish in a small pond than be a small fish in a big pond of whales. All right, and then we go over here. ACC, of course, has dropped. Mountain West has dropped over the years because they've lost so many good teams. Sun Belt, Conference USA, and, of course, the MAC, which has really dropped over the years. The surprise teams, Phil Steele ranks himself. He's been pretty good over the years. 2012 wasn't good. But last year he did pretty good. And then these are the surprise teams of 2024. Utah. So these are the teams that doesn't look like they'll be good, but they are going to be good. Clemson, Florida State. So he expects Florida State to drop off, but still to be a pretty decent team. Of course, Miami. I'll believe Miami will be a really good team when I see it. There are too many people trying to take control, and there's too much pressure about fan base and about former players. I'm sorry, the players, they used to go there when they were one of the best teams in the country, and they were the best in the early 2000s. You need to shut the hell up and let the coaches do what they need to do. You don't know what you're doing. Sorry. And then we got the top we got the top Power 5 schools. Boise State wouldn't surprise me. UTSA or UTSA in the USA is the bottom 10 will call them when they were several years ago. So again, a big name, not as many big names because of course Big 12 has swallowed up a lot of the good AC schools. All right, and then the most improved schools. These would be the most improved teams, so expects East Carolina to go from an absolutely horrible year to a good one. And it looks like a lot of group of 5 schools this year instead of Power 4. Florida looks to be big, make a big game, which would be great because I'd love to see them. I'm not a Florida fan, but it's just not the same without Florida being really good. 6-6 every year is not a good barometer for that school. Louisiana, they were doing good until, of course, their coach left for Florida. This is the Power Poll. This is his ranking of all the schools. I mean, does it surprise you? Georgia's number 1. Ohio State, Oregon, Texas. Penn State's a surprising one. I'll believe they're the 5th best team in the country when I see it. They can't beat and they cannot win a big game in the Big Ten. It just seems like. Texas A&M, I'll believe it when I see it. Michigan, I expect them. I think they're going to be further down. So again, this is all speculation based on a lot of factors. So, okay, here we go. And there we go. TCU, who played in the national championship game year before last, or like last year. So, again, and the worst team will be supposedly Kennesaw State. All right. And then we talk about the bowl games. Nothing to see there because that's talked about everywhere else. Projected units, how good they are. It's already been in here already. Game grades, who had the best performance all year. So last year, Georgia destroying Florida State. I'm sorry, Florida State. Afterwards, you lost a quarterback. It's no excuse by losing by 60. I just don't know. So after that, you have nothing to complain. You have nothing that can show you can compete with the SEC right now. You are Clemson. Even though it was good to have them see a really great year. I'm not, saying I hate Florida State, but, you go undefeated, and, they were snubbed. Yeah, they were snubbed big time. But that doesn't mean you lose by 60. I'm sorry. The next biggest one was Penn State and Michigan State, Notre Dame and Oregon State. That was pretty much a thrashing. And then, of course, for 2022, national championship game, which was a laughing stock. All right. Projected stats. So this gives about conference. Again, these are just all projected. Okay. More people who follow Phil Steele. This is somebody I would not say who follows me. Probably the biggest poop butt, biggest wankster there ever was. I'm sorry, John Cena, but you're a wankster. All right. Projected top 40, and then it gives a short summary of why he chose each one. All right, and then over here, teams 16 through 40. And then we go down to 61. All right, so here we go. And of course, then there's the conference previews. So I'll just look at a couple of these. So they expect Georgia. Now notice, pretty much all the conferences now have one division. So there's no East versus West in the SEC anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see how the tiebreakers work. And then look at this. Alabama's expected to be third. You know, that's debatable how they're going to do. You never know, though. So, was it Kel DeBoer? I always get his name messed up. I mean, he's a hell of a coach. So, see what he does? I don't know. All right, of course, Vanderbilt. Oh, yeah. Does that surprise anyone? All right, and then for each team, it gives a breakdown by position, even the coaches. And then it gives the special team rankings, which is pretty big. A short recap, and notice there's tons of abbreviations, and then the forecast for the year. Okay, it gives a breakdown of the conference, of the team schedule, home field edge by point, how many points it's worth, the difficulty of the schedule. It's ranked number 8. So notice they play Clemson and Georgia Tech out of schedule. Now, Georgia Tech's not been good in recent years, but that is a state rivalry. So, the breakdown of the records, even breakdown by against the spread. Their signees, the offensive defensive stats, their bowl games, and again, more breakdowns of the record. And then the schedule of the past 5 years. Of course, that's the COVID year right there. All right, so we'll look at one more. Texas, who hopefully is back. And of course, I got to show Alabama because they're the Crimson Tide. I mean, they've been the dominant team, just like North Dakota State was for FCS. And not only that, they were undefeated they defeated former Power 5 conference champions. So, that should tell you something. Or teams that were playing for conference championships. Sorry. Okay. So there's a lot of teams here. And of course, the Big Ten. Look at this. Okay. It doesn't surprise anyone in Ohio State. Michigan dropped because they got a new coach, lost a lot of players. Won't surprise me. Penn State, this does not surprise me. USC, I'll believe they're real when they can demonstrate they're real. Same thing with Penn State, like I've been talking about. And I'm not dissing. They have a good team. They got a great coach. But look at this. Ooh, no comment there. All right. And we'll just look at Big 12 real quick. Wow, I just can't believe Michigan State, how bad they are. ACC, but we'll look at the Big 12. So again, with the new, it's interesting because they have 3 new teams. I don't expect those teams to do very well. Oh no, they expect SMU to be 4th. Okay. Then we got Stanford. Oh, they were horrible. They were good for so long. Where's Cal? And then Cal's projected to be in the middle of the conference. So, of course, my team, State, ranked 15th. Yeah. They weren't even good in basketball this year either. They just can't. They're not built for the playoffs in basketball, for the NCAA tournament. All right, Big 12. Utah. This is interesting because they got a whole bunch of new teams. We got Utah, Arizona, was it Colorado, and Houston. Now, Houston expect to have a better season, but yet here they're projected to be last. Je ne comprends pas, no comprende. Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? Oh, man. Man, we're going to be here the longest video I've ever done, isn't it? Almost at a half hour. But I expect this to be a pretty good conference. Look at all the new teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new teams in the last 2 seasons. And this was a team who could have been a Pac-12 champion about 3 or 4 years ago. Look how far they've dropped. All right, so real quick, I'll just bring up AAC. Not as good as they usually are. UTSA figures to be top. And one thing I didn't talk about, of course, if you do feel still, unit rankings and offensive stats. So, and of course the conference rankings of the past 3, 5, and 10 years. So, all right. Army. Of course, I love my military schools. All right. And of course, next would be Mountain West, which probably will. It's a major shadow of itself along with the athletic, or the American athletic. But again, Boise State, not the same team they've been over the past, in the past. And then the forecast of the Pac-2. All right. Okay, here we go. And then finally, Independent, Notre Dame. They're always interesting. And they play a soft schedule. They usually play a really good schedule, but it seems like in their really good years, the teams they play that are normally good are bad. But look at this, at Texas A&M, the Northern Illinois at one point was a good game. That's a buy-in game. At Purdue, Miami. So, not a very strong schedule right here. All right, the ACC part, Louisville, Stanford, which is a big rivalry game. Georgia Tech, Navy, who they dominate over the years. Florida State, Virginia, Army, and USC. Major rivalry. And I can see this year why it's ranked this 57th toughest schedule, because there's a lot of non-Power 4 teams on there. So, and then the ACC teams they're facing are not very good, not counting Florida State. Louisville might be good this year. All right. And, of course, one of the worst teams ever. All right. Now we're what's turned out to be my favorite Group of 5 conference, the Sun Belt. The Bun Belt. App State as usual. Look at that. James Madison, Coastal Carolina, who's some awesome teams in the last few years. And then over here, Louisiana. This side doesn't look to be very strong. And then, of course, Louisiana Monroe, who's been a perennial bottom 10 team the last several years. So, all right. Yeah, App State has been very good. They can't seem to put everything together. Like the last few years, they've had some big wins, but just can't put it together. And of course, I've got to talk about James Madison. They got a new coach. Just one hell of a team, what they've been doing the last few years. Now, this is a team that beat North Dakota State in the FCS playoffs several years ago. So that should tell you how good they are. Now, their last time they played them, of course, they lost to them, which I believe was in the championship game. And that was 20-28. So that's crazy. And another state team, Old Dominion. And again, they started out really good, and they haven't really been good the last several years. All right, and then finally, Conference USA, or MAC. This has been kind of the bottom conference the last few years, them in Conference USA, although they always have one or two really good teams. So it's not like it's a completely bad conference. All right, and then finally, because we're getting at the half-hour mark here, man. Nobody's going to watch this. Conference USA, again, Liberty, expected to be pretty good. Of course, New Mexico State lost their Jerry Kill, one of the greatest coaches ever, man. Just one of the best rebuilders. And just look, they've rebuilt basically on FCS schools. So that's crazy. The only ones that have not been full FCS schools, Western Kentucky, FIU, Tech, New Mexico State, and UTEP, and Middle Tennessee State. So about half the teams are new. All right. And then finally, we get all the award winners from last year. So this is really cool. Coach of the Year. Just look at that. Mike Norvell. One fantastic job at Florida State. Kalen DeBoer, Washington. Again, won a lot of close games. He TCU'd his way into the championship game. But it doesn't matter, man. Just an outstanding job what he did. Offensive line. I know Jalen Chase is going to love this. Washington Huskies. All right. Okay. And then we got all of our other awards here. Bronco Nagurski Award. Best Defensive Player. Just crazy. Interior Lineman. Michael Penix. Collegiate Football Player of the Year. Again, I know Jalen Chase is proud of this man. The man can run just like Jalen. That man is a state champion, so you got to remember, this guy is a state champion of mine. This guy right here. All right, Peyton Wilson. Of course, we got the Jim Thorpe Award. One of the greatest Native American athletes ever. Doak Award. Premier running back. Look at that. Oh, yeah, and this guy's from Air Force, too. Trey Taylor. All right, more award winners. Blitnikoff, wide receiver. So, here we go. Crazy, isn't it? Oh, Colorado. And then we got, who's going to win the Heisman this year? There we go. Dylan Gabriel, Oregon. Doesn't mean he'll win it. This is just projected, okay? All right, and then he gives the recent Heisman Trophy winners. And that's it. So there's a lot I missed. I didn't even talk about primetime Deion Sanders and his son, Colorado. We'll see how they do this year. So, of course, this is just kind of potpourri. So I got a long video here. So if you stood this long and can deal with the bald spot and me talking upside down, before we get out of here, I just want y'all to see what it looks like today. It is beautiful. It's supposed to get up in the 90s next few days. Check this out. The beauty. The calm wind. Just look at the beauty out here. Just look at the... Isn't this beautiful right here? This is so gorgeous. Can't go any further because that's my landlord's house, but that's that view that I have. So if you stayed and watched this part, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and notification buttons, and I'm out.